What if I told you you don't know anything about Metal Gear Solid 4? Or you've been looking at it the wrong way? Today, I want to take you through the eyes of Kojima and the heart and soul of Metal Gear Solid 4 in the series. Metal Gear Solid 4 has so many layers to it, and I won't be able to make one video. Maybe we'll turn this into a series. It's going to be fun with some did you know facts and some deeper dives in between all of that. So join me on this, jump into the comments and share some of your thoughts, opinions, and feelings, as well as cool things that you either learned or enjoy about the game. Now, with all that being said, this is Metal Gear Explained. I'm your host, and we're changing things in this channel. We want to do new things, so expect a lot coming soon. With that in mind, the volume 2 is coming out, where you're going to be able to play this on every platform, and that's the reason I'm making this. If you're new to the Metal Gear series, this will be pretty interesting. There might be some spoilers, but if you don't mind that, we'll just get into the weeds. So first and foremost, the coolest thing for me that I really loved for gameplay is you're caught in the middle of a war between two different factions. One is the rebels, who are fighting against the big money machine, let's just call them, and literally a machine, as they kick you and you see in the background. And this is footage from the actual volume 2 that was taken by a channel who got the chance to play an hour of the game. And so that to me was one of my favorite features, and it still is one of my favorite features in any video game, being able to deal with two factions. And for stealth, it makes it even more challenging because there's many ways you can play. You can fight through and take everybody out, both enemies, both sides, or you can avoid both sides, or you can help one side and they will start giving you items and cheering you on. And that to me is a mechanic that a lot of video games don't have, and I do think it's one of the most special for this specific part 4. And while we talk about part 4, I want to kind of give you the heart and soul, where this is the finale of the series chronologically. This is the final game officially for the Kojima legacy. And he knew this, and he wrapped up everything to the point where some people would call it fan service, which it is. I don't think it's wrong to do so when you're saying farewell to a series that's lasted as long as this game has. And the way it's done is masterful. You see an old man representing the series being old, as well as Kojima getting older. And he's really not that old, because video games last forever. So some metaphors and some themes and messages in the gameplay, where Kojima's showcasing features like fatigue, where you can basically be unable to walk and even faint. And this is all done to give the player that feeling, just like the series. Hey, it's getting old. You guys keep asking for more, but this is the finale. I love that. With that in mind, you're fighting the machine, the well-oiled machine, which I don't want to get too deep into the story, so I'm trying to avoid a little bit of it. But basically, just imagine infinite money and trying to control the world, much like they all do. And you are in between that, trying to shut that down. And this is your final mission. It's a pretty straightforward mission, and it's something that I could spoil. You're out to take out one person, and it gets complicated as usual. And that's something that I love. And I want to pause and talk about the trailers leading up to this game. We're talking about no place to hide, no place for Hideo Kojima, the director. And they had trailers just like making fun of that. And even in game, for the story where it's more serious and not as playful, this box says no place for Hideo, the director. And it's just a symbolism of how he was retiring from the series for a very long time. He wanted to move on to new pieces of art. Imagine being a painter but being asked to paint the same picture. And that's where us fans are pretty selfish, and it shows. But that's something that Kojima kind of talked about with society. And that's where this game also introduces that concept of how war has gotten so greedy, where it's the actual economy and it's the way the world thrives through war. There's no longer, peaceful elements. It's all about trying to gain a profit and using the war propaganda. Metal Gear, just so you guys know, is a highly political game with a lot of commentary on society and the struggle. And while I don't always cover that part of it, because it's going to be a lot of layers to go through, I do feel it's important to recognize that in part 4 as well, and how it touches on our society and the things that were happening during that time and right now in the future. Literally 2026 and the wars that have been happening and the way America will dominate in order to take over other territories and be able to put themselves in debt but ask for money back and create this transaction of investments and profits for the rich, while the poor have to pay everything back through their taxes. And that's a whole nother conversation, but that's what you get when you play a Hideo Kojima game. Many layers. And that's where this presentation giving you the introduction to the game, where in the speech itself he says war has changed, and so has video games, and it's evolved in different ways, good and bad. Konami and Kojima are no longer, but here we go. Metal Gear still continues. There's commentary there. It's like he predicted the future. But these are the things that it's hard for us to say farewell to. Maybe we can't forgive. Maybe we're angry. Maybe we feel regret. And until we grow up and salute, just like our buddy here, Solid Snake, we might not find our way. One thing I love about the game, just a little fun fact, that scene that you saw where somebody was making the eggs, they weren't making them well. And there's a bunch of symbolism as you play the game. It's very poetic all the way until the end, which I won't mention what that is, but it's fun. So check that out for yourself. Another little side note is they had a bunch of cool iPod elements, and one of them had to do mind control. All right, so background music that can trigger some extreme emotions. So you might want to try that. I'm not going to give out too many other things, but you're going to have a good time if you're playing some background music and you try to take an enemy out by choking them and things like that. But I'll let you explore that funny limit. I want to talk about things like the divine wind and how the game also has an economy that can change, just like our real life situation. And there's a bunch of cool things in the game, features and small details, Japanese history about the wind, for example, and how it sweeps some enemies, drops rare items and things like that, with summoning a tornado with a specific item. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but go ahead and buy every item in the game. What am I talking about? Anyways, that being said, there's fun stuff in the game that really is absolutely insane. Cool little crossovers like the Assassin's Creed one that you'll see, and much more. Like I told you about the iPod, it looked like it's still going to be in the game thoroughly. They had a podcast and they had a bunch of different things in there that you'll be surprised and enjoy. But I love it. And then we go into the traditional Psycho Mantis control joke, where if you played the original Metal Gear Solid, you're able to get the very cool joke about Psycho. And there's a lot of homage to the old bosses and the traditional bosses in the game. And that's something I really love. In one of the acts, you're traveling through South America and you'll find some alien crop elements and get into some fun dialogue if you do feel like going into your Kodak. Give it a shot, explore a little bit, don't just rush through, touch some grass, as they say. And I want to kind of take a pause and talk about some fun things that impacted me, as you can see in the background. In this situation, you know, these guys that are the militia taking over areas, they've got a lot of big budgets, a lot of tools, weapons, and more. And these poor rebels are getting beat down or suppressed over and over. And that's a big theme gameplay wise, but it's a part of the story as well. And it just makes you think about our lives. Are you purchasing things from the big corporations every single time? Just normal house supplies? Or are you going to your local store? Maybe one of your family members owns some business that sells house supplies. Why don't you purchase it from them? And this game kind of really touches on that, on a political statement about corporations getting greedier and greedier. And even some characters and NPCs that help you are also just greedy. Not in a disrespectful way, but this is our survival, right? But sometimes survival turns into greed. And that's kind of where I love the game's themes and concepts and messages. You have this very old man and you can go run and gun and get a little toxic and just goof off, or you can do what you're seeing with some type of stealth and try to get some takedowns, investigate, you know, interrogate, pat people down, and do all that good stuff. It's doable, but those choices have psychological effects, and your psyche can drop, which will make you fatigue and cause you to have those back pains and struggle. And this is a harsh reality of war, and one of the great messages in this game has to do how war changes you, and it affects you in so many negative ways. And a lot of us won't know the traumas in our life and the struggles, and they might make us a little bitter or a little cynical, or maybe not trusting people because of what you went through. And the truth is, while that is true, it's not the only thing and the only way. You can break free from your own bad habits and routines and do better. That's kind of where the game takes you on a journey, which we won't get into the spoilers of it, but it does tell you that story. And one of the coolest parts is the boss fights. The boss fights have these beautiful, beautiful women, but you don't know that. And I'm spoiling it for those that are new, but basically these women were tortured. They went through war crimes, survived it, and then they were used to be controlled as well, because their trauma was so devastating that it turned them into monsters. And they became Beauty and the Beast. And the big part behind that is that happens to a lot of us, myself included. I've been heartbroken, not even from a lover, luckily, but even family member, which I think it's worse. A family member does something so devastating that it crushes you. It's hard to recover. And this game kind of mentions those type of things, but in a unique way, which is the war affecting society and affecting these people and these humans. So for me, you know, I want all of you to play the game and think about that. It does share that message, and it talks about it thoroughly. And even our main character here, who's getting old, and it's all because of his suffering and struggle, but also the greed of trying to clone someone and trying to create a perfect soldier, as they say. These have been themes in the game and in the series, but this game really hones in on the cause and effects of all those actions. And to me, that is where this series continues to evolve. As you play, you unlock that and you say to yourself, whoa, this is amazing. They're really tapping into real life society issues, my personal issues, tons of crazy, deep lore, while at the same time providing fun, challenging gameplay. And in this next part of the gameplay that you'll see, it actually shows you the best part that I talked about, where there's a war going on the battlefield and you are just free to decide what type of soldier you want to be. And while this isn't a story about Big Boss, people confuse Big Boss with Solid Snake, it is a story with a similar concept. Do the times change who you are? Like Snake Eater says. Are you loyal to your mission or to me? And in this situation, Snake has a decision. And the players will never think about this if they don't want to, but you're given that freedom. You're told there's the rebels fighting back against the militia. The militia are too powerful, and you know, they have all the resources while the rebels barely can supply anything. And that's where the game opens up and takes you through the journey of you learning and deciding for free whatever you want to do. And now I've played this game, and to be honest with you guys, before I continue, probably played this game the most out of all the games overall. It's the one that's the most modern and that gives me the most nostalgia. And also I played a lot of the multiplayer, which led me to play the story more and more. Just continue repeating that process, and I always come back to it no matter what. Pretty much every year I'll play this game at least once. And with that in mind, you know, all of those themes and concepts always get reflected back, because there might be a new addition to the Metal Gear series, but it's so old you feel like this guy right here, you know, bad back, gray hair, wrinkled, you know, worn out soldier. And while I love the series, you know, having a part 16 is kind of insane. Now there's only 9 chronological games, and those are the ones I stick to mostly. I played all the spin-offs except for one, which I don't feel was necessary. But that being said, this is where it's at. And I want to kind of just talk about the gameplay and stop my commentary just to give you an idea. So these are the big bad in the game. And as you can see, these NPCs are highly resourceful. They're coordinated. You know, they have an airstrike going out in the air. They have a tank on the left. You got more soldiers pulling up. It is intense. And on the right side of this situation are the militia, the real militia, the rebels, trying to survive them and dealing with them. And I have a freedom to either fight the rich soldiers who are trying to take over the world, basically, and oppressing the poor rebels, or take out the rebels and those guys. Now, if I don't take anyone out, they will be surprised and shoot me on sight. But if I start helping the rebels, they will start to like just let me be at first, and then after a while they'll cheer me on and say thanks and give me items. And that's where it's interesting, and that mechanic to me needs to be focused on in the future. One of the key things that I personally want in new Metal Gear games more consistently. That being said, throughout this tunnel and this area, you end up dealing with a lot of these rebels. And if you're friendly with them to start off, as this guy has not killed any of them, they won't just shoot you on sight. They'll let you be like, huh? Oh, it's you. And that's it. And so this is a mechanic, and I want to talk about in our society, where who's on your side. You know, the biggest and best game of the Metal Gear series is Snake Eater, because the representation of that specific theme is deep. A snake eating its own tail is my actual message for my channel and my logo, and overall the message of the series, where Snake Eater, a snake eating its own tail. And you get to decide, are you friend or foe? People backstab each other throughout the series, and that is where this game gets interesting, because it's doing that even in these moments. For example, these rebels started shooting us because we shot them. Now they're looking for us. And this is a small example of just immediate gameplay, but there's larger stories and different elements that actually help you. By the way, this is not my gameplay, so please don't judge it. But these are the kind of things that you have to deal with. And now he becomes an enemy of the state to the people he was helping at first, a little bit. And now he's one of the bad guys for betraying them. And this game is about anti-war, yet as you can see, he can eliminate people, which he decides to do so. Unnecessarily, but these are the kind of things in war that you get to choose. It's actually a cool feature because replaying the game and trying to do challenges like no kill runs, no alerts, and so much more. I felt like this game highlighted a lot of that, and I loved it. So overall, it's fun, awesome. It is exactly what Metal Gear was. And again, there's way too many layers to get into all of the nitty-gritties, but I believe today's video helped you kind of see a little bit of what Metal Gear Solid 4 is, and I might do more videos for you guys. Just leave some likes and comments, showcase that you are interested in hearing about this, and we can do deeper dives for the next run as we go before the release of Volume 2. All right, I want to send love and peace to you guys. Take care of yourself. Stay blessed.